Hi, everyone. Welcome to Shining Lights New England. I am your host, Deb Burton, Executive Director of RI Elder Info and creator of RIElderInfo.com. And each week I come on Shining Lights New England to introduce you to some amazing organizations that are doing some great work out there in the community and that you simply need to know about. So I really hope that you hit the like button and the share button and the bells and all those social media things that say you've checked it out and you really like the show, because we want to help these nonprofits get the word out. And as a nonprofit organization, we could not do this without the support of our sponsors. So let me take a moment to share a word from our sponsors with you.
Welcome to Community Solar. Did you know that your organization could save 10% on their energy bills just by subscribing to shares in local solar farms at no cost? It's true. State community solar programs accelerate the development of clean energy sources and are designed to help you save money. At Fuse Energy, our goal is to connect every nonprofit, house of worship, and municipality with the energy savings they deserve so you can put those resources back where they belong, serving your community. Contact us today to find out more.
Welcome back, everyone. Well, this week we're going to talk to Ryan Loiselle from Friends Way. Welcome, Ryan.
Hi, Deb. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for coming on today. So I was saying to you a little bit before the show that Friends Way is something that I have heard amazing things about. And in many ways, I've been blessed to not have to know the services that you provide. So can you please share what is Friends Way and what is it that you do there?
Right. So you're exactly right. We are a children's grief organization. So until families need our services, they are very lucky that they've never heard of us. We are doing really important work for families to really break the isolation of grief. So we're serving kids ages 3 to 18 who've experienced a death, often a parent, sibling. We've seen lots of grandparent deaths during COVID that have really impacted our families, and newer families are reaching out. So our services are not counseling services. It's not clinical. Therefore, it's offered at no cost, which is a big undertaking for us as a nonprofit, a very tiny nonprofit affiliated with Gateway and Lifespan. And we run with our volunteers facilitating our support groups. So not a lot of overhead, 1.5 full-time employees at our organization and about 50 volunteers.
I totally hear you on the 1.5 paid employees, and it's nonprofits as a whole can be a heavy lift sometimes, but the work that you're doing, it just is amazing. So it's not like a counseling center, like where someone's going to meet a psychiatrist or psychologist or get prescriptions written out, right?
Correct. I am a licensed social worker. I'm the program director. I oversee the whole program, but our volunteers are the ones who are facilitating the group. So they meet with either myself or my colleague Molly, who's our program supervisor, for the intake to really assess if they're ready to be in group. Because we're not a clinical setting, we find that families aren't ready to be in a group setting days or weeks after a death. They're trying to come to terms with their own feelings. They're trying to understand that their life has changed forever and how to best help their kids. And oftentimes they do seek the counseling route first, but we're also a community resource where families may call us to say, I need to tell my 5-year-old that their mom died. How do I do that? And we're able to walk them through over the phone or have them come into the office as a consultation to assist them with resources.
That is an amazing resource to have available for the community, because let's say that's not a conversation that anybody wants to have experience with doing.
Absolutely.
Now, I've driven past your building in Connecticut, over in Warwick, right on the main road there by the police substation. Are programs offered there, or are they offered virtually, or do you go to the community? How does that work?
So, right, our home base is in Connecticut. We've been in that building for about 16 years.
Oh, wow.
We got a sign about 5 years ago, and everybody was like, "Hey, welcome to the neighborhood." We're like, "We've been here. We couldn't afford a sign, so we had a flag." Um, so, right, so the majority of our services are provided in our Warwick-based center. We've got 5 group nights. I'm also doing a lot of trainings out in the community, either virtually or in person, as well as we have some grants that have allowed us to be in some schools. So I'm providing some school groups specific, especially to areas like Central Falls that may not be able to get to us for transportation reasons or the barrier of Spanish speaking staff. So we're using a lot of the Central Falls personnel to help with the bilingual services that are being offered. So we're no longer doing virtual groups. So I am very happy about that. So we are offering all of our services in person at this point.
That's awesome. Is grief different for children than for an adult or an older adult?
Absolutely. I mean, I could talk for hours about how it's all different, but kids are going to grieve in spurts. They grow in spurts, they grieve in spurts. So for little kids, conceptually, they're not supposed to understand the concept that death is final, that it's not reversible. So if parents may get frustrated, right, to be like, I've told my 4 and 5 year old that their mom died or their grandpa died, and they keep asking if they're coming back. And it's like, that's okay. And you're going to see a lot of repetitive questions. And especially with the younger kids, you're going to see a lot of their feelings come out in play. It's going to come out in their ability to pay attention, to concentrate, to be frustrated, all of those things. And we think that kids are going to grieve like we do because they're like, oh, well, they're just littler people. It's like, no, their processing is a lot different, and they're going to ask a lot of questions. And I say the best thing for adults to do is to really listen to their kids, listen to their questions, acknowledge their questions. Don't change the subject, because then the kids think, uh-oh, I'm not supposed to know about that, but that's really heightened I really want to know that now.
Yeah. And I think sometimes it's probably really hard for a mom or dad who maybe did lose their parents to keep answering the child's questions when that adult is also an adult grieving child, and it's the little one's grandparents, but it's their parents' parent. And I think sometimes when we're grieving as adult people, our emotions are all over the place, and I think that might make it more difficult to be in tune with our littles who are grieving.
It absolutely is. And I also facilitate one of our adult groups, and we often hear that the parents feel like they need to put on that big, strong, like almost like a mask, and hold themselves together, because if I don't hold myself together, then I'm going to fall apart, and I don't want to fall apart in front of my kids. And the parents looking to say, like, yes, it is really tiring to be, maybe they're the only parent, maybe the grandparent was a live-in and basically a, a second parent to this child, and now they've died. So a lot of repetitive questions like, well, when is grandpa going to be done being dead? I miss him, right? And it's acknowledging and sitting and being very patient, and even more patient sometimes, to say, we really miss grandpa. Do you remember that when his body stopped working, grandpa died? And we can't see him anymore, but we can try to share memories. We can look at his pictures. We can do things that we would like to do with him. But I'm really sad too. So having the adult acknowledge their feelings and showing their feelings and demonstrating that it's okay to cry. And here's why I'm
Mhm.
crying. I'm really sad.
I think, that's something that's really important to teach children is that feelings are real and it's okay to have them. Um, so, what kinds of activities does Friends Way offer for kids who are grieving?
So we do a lot of expressive arts. It's kids, it's play. We're giving kids another medium to use. We know that some people do really well with talking, like you and I
Mhm.
are right now, and others need to draw or journal or paint. So we do a lot of things related to expressing feelings, sharing of coping skills, and certainly talking about memories about the people who have died. So we encourage the kids and teens and adults to bring in a photo of that person, help us understand who we're talking about. Let us know what they looked like and their eye color, and what characteristics do you have in common with your person. Sometimes even just tactile things, kinetic sand is great to have those hands be busy while we're reading a story about grief, and to say, hey, this little boy had to tell everybody in school when he went back that his mom died. I'm wondering if anybody else had to do that. Or did you not want people to know that you've experienced a death? Do you not want your teachers to treat you differently? Um, so they get to normalize and be with others. And then the best groups, although we put a lot of training and work with our volunteers, are when the kids are able to kind of dictate what's happening in group. That the kids bring up a certain topic, and then they reach out to, you're also a kid in the group, Deb, and they're like, so wait, your mom also died? And then there's a conversation there, and then we bring it to the larger group to say, wow, everybody in this group has had a parent who died, or everybody here's dad died. What's that like? Can you go anywhere else in this world and be in that setting? And oftentimes it's no. And the kids are, I say, sometimes sad to know that new kids and new families are starting, because they say, I don't like when our groups gets bigger because that means more people have died.
And that, I think, in the last couple of years through the pandemic, um, we know that we lost a lot of people um, across the globe. And we've lost a lot of people here in Rhode Island due to COVID. We also saw in that same time frame, I think, due to the stress, etc., of the whole pandemic situation, in escalation in um, drug overdoses, increases in individuals having difficulty with mental illness and mental health. Have you found in the last couple of years since the pandemic began an increase in littles who have experienced um, death because of these other things, whether it's the pandemic or mental health crisis or overdoses, things along those lines? Has it increased or stayed about the same?
It's, I don't even have a number. It's considerably increased. We got a grant just prior to the pandemic in 2019 to work with families affected by a suicide, overdose, or an addiction related death. We had rolled out the program. We met families within 4 months. We had 23 families in our service. And then March 13th, 2020 hit, and then we went virtual. We are seeing an uptick in DCYF related cases, depending on where the family was prior to the death, displaced by trauma and abuse, or kids in foster care. And that's a whole nother level and a whole nother loss for these kids who have been taken out of their home because their parent was not being safe and abusing drugs, and then has died, and then they may find out that their other biological parent may have died while they were living in another foster home. So then the foster parents reaching out to us, it's like there was just another loss. So these losses are devastating for these kids, and there's a huge mental health crisis and shortage of clinicians and staff to work with all these families that have such this high acuity. We're seeing families that may have never been affected by anxiety or depression prior to the pandemic. And then you really get to see what's really happening as the parents were with their kids 24/7 and having those just anxieties coming up of, oh my gosh, everybody's getting sick. Am I going to get sick too? Am I going to die? All of these questions that get asked.
It's been a lot for a lot of people for a really long time. And so, what is the age group again that Friends Way serves? And do they have to encountered um, loss by death, or can it be loss by separation, such as DCYF placement?
Sure. So currently we're working with kids ages 3 through 18. So we say essentially preschool through the end of high school. And is that it is a loss due to death. We acknowledge that, yes, divorce and displacement is certainly a loss, and those come up in our groups. But to qualify for our services, a death needs to have happened.
That's awesome. So, well, I take that back. That's not
I
awesome.
know, I
That's
know what
that's
you mean.
awful.
I know what
But
you mean.
how do people reach out to you? How, if someone is experiencing this situation, how do they reach out to you? How do they enroll? What is the criteria? Do you take insurance? Is there a fee?
So I could say, thankfully, there's no fee for our services offered at no cost to families. So we rely on grants, fundraisers, donations to keep our services open and everything. Families find us in a variety of ways. I see most commonly, schools tend to be our biggest referral sources. Schools, hospitals, hospice, pediatricians' offices, funeral home directors, private therapists, word of mouth. I mean, we've been around for 22 years. We've got a lot of families that are now volunteers with us. We have families that it's Rhode Island, right? Their neighbor was coming to Friends Way, so they're like, oh my gosh, you need to check out this service. And also Google, because people, when they're stuck, they're like, children's grief in Rhode Island. And we're the only service in the state providing the comprehensive services for our kids ages 3 to 18 and their adult caregivers. So we pop up. So no formal referral needs to happen. A family can self-refer. And like I said, we would do the intake in our office to just do an assessment, determine readiness and appropriateness for group. And our groups are offered throughout the school year. So right now, given that we're at the end of April, we're winding down. We've closed enrollment at this point just to, allow families not to have only 2 or 3 groups under their belt, and then we break for the summer, and then we're back in September. So, but they can reach out to us anytime to find out about our services. We often consult with other therapists to make referrals in the meantime, and then our families commit to a group either a Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, meeting every other week throughout the school year.
Wow. And what is your website?
Our website is friendsway.org.
Okay. And if somebody wanted to call you, what is your phone number?
Sure. So area code 401-921-0980.
Okay. And I think you mentioned you are a nonprofit?
We are, yes. We're affiliated with Gateway Healthcare as well as Lifespan.
Okay. And as a nonprofit, if people watching this want to support this truly amazing work, your reputation preceded you quite a bit. If viewers wanted to support the work that you're doing there at Friends Way, how can they do that? Do you need financial donations? Do you need volunteers? What works best for you to make this amazing program continue to be successful?
So I say each of those, all the above. Telling people, I mean, we obviously, right, we need money to keep our services open, and dinners and salaries and all of those things. But we want to have the word spread. And if you're not in the best means to provide financially, but you're like, oh my gosh, my work might be able to help do a volunteer cleanup, or I might know somebody who has a few dollars that could throw some money at Friends Way. So, I mean, any donation, I say certainly of any size monetarily is welcome. We go through a lot of art supplies and projects. I would say we would want to have someone call us first. We just want to make sure it's something that we're going to use, and like we have a lot of markers and paint and Play-Doh and canvases. But if it was something like, oh wow, like that's a really cool thing, like maybe we could see if we could use that. And I say we're always looking for volunteers. I do a volunteer training generally a couple times a year. And given how people are trying to find jobs right now, and it's there's a lot of jobs out there and not as many people, we're in a similar situation. So we're always looking for volunteers. So you can reach out to us, go onto our website, friendsway.org, find out how to email myself and Molly, and we'll get you connected for our next volunteer training to help have you facilitate groups, or if you want to help serve our pizza during dinner time, if you're not quite ready to be in a group and down on your knees and knee deep in glitter, that's okay too.
That is awesome. And do you have any fundraisers coming up?
We do. We have a fundraiser tomorrow. It's our comedy event on the 28th, but we do our biggest fundraiser is our gala, which is on Friday. Friday, September 16th at Cafe Nuovo. Information will be on our website soon. This is our save the date that just went out. But we're gonna have dinner, dancing, live silent auctions, hear from a family who's received services from us, and we haven't been able to really gather in a large capacity in a couple of years. So we're really excited to celebrate at Cafe Nuovo, downtown Providence.
That is awesome. And again, your reputation, Friendsway reputation, has preceded you, and I've always heard what absolutely breathtaking, amazing work is being done there.
That's really great to hear, Deb. And I appreciate, like you said, not wanting to ever have to know about our services, but as a fellow nonprofit to really help share and spotlight, we really appreciate that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on Shining Lights, because what you're doing is really important, and it's really important that the community know how to support you and support the littles who are going through some of the most challenging times of their lives.
Yes, thank you for having us on, Deb.
Thanks. So again, Friendsway is really doing amazing, amazing work for kids who are going through some of the toughest times of their lives, and they could really use your support. So, if you can get a financial donation, great. If you can serve pizza, that's awesome. If you're not in a position to do either one, you can always just hit the like button and share button and get the word out about this great program that is serving littles in their times of need. So I thank you all for joining me today. I look forward to seeing you again here on Shining Lights New England. In the meantime, be well and be kind.